On this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney, Jared explains Genie Plus and the Lightning Lanes and whether or not they are worth the money.
Welcome to another episode of A Drier Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Drier, and today we actually have an episode that's been requested quite a bit. A lot of our listeners want to know more about Genie Plus lightning lanes, individual lightning lanes, and virtual queues, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you've heard our previous episodes, we just wrapped up one on single rider lines and talking about how those can improve your day and your time at the parks. And that's going to actually carry over quite a bit into our episode today and into our next episode, which is on Universal's Express Pass, and if that's worth it. So we want you to stay tuned into all these episodes. So please subscribe wherever you're listening to us or consuming this content, whether it's in video or audio format. And if you find any of these tips that are saving you money or make your life a little bit easier, please, we ask you go out to our Patreon page and support us there, because you could be saving yourself a few $100s at the parks, and it's not much to contribute $5 to our podcast. So we do appreciate the support over there at Patreon, and you do get early access to our episodes like our butterbeer recipe, which is already live, and how to go to Disney for free, which is also already live. And then we'll also be giving new content as soon as we can out there that is special for those Patreon supporters that are already supporting us. So we want to thank those that have already supported us, and there will be some fun episodes coming up in the next year where we're going to be doing questions from our Patreon supporters, as well as we will do some live episodes where we will do a Zoom call and we will get everybody together that is our supporters at a certain level, and they will talk through what their favorite things at Disney are, their tips and tricks that they wanted to share. So a lot of cool content that's coming real soon. Please subscribe and stay tuned in there. So I will say we're going to talk about Genie. Okay, so Disney's Genie, which is a part of the app, Genie Plus, which is different than the Genie that's out there, lightning lanes, individual lightning lanes, and then the virtual queues that you can all get to the front of the lines with at Disney. Now, there are so many things there, it's confusing. And I can say for me, a park veteran, I've been going for years. I was very used to the Fast Pass system that was in place years ago. As a matter of fact, then in California at Anaheim, they brought out Max Pass, which we actually liked quite a bit. And we'll talk about Genie Plus and how those all work. But this has been one of the most confusing things and rollouts that Disney's ever done, is this new Genie Plus lightning lane, the individual lightning. So we're going to walk you through each and every single step, what they cost, how they work, how you can get them, so that you have a better understanding going into the parks, what you're doing, and then you can get yourself to the front of the line if you choose to. So I always like to start my podcast with a story that I experienced personally. And this story actually comes to you from February 2020, so right before COVID hit. And we flew out for just the weekend, and we went to Orlando, and we were going to Hollywood Studios because the new Rise of the Resistance ride had just opened. Black Spire Outpost was open in the Star Wars land, and we wanted to try it all out. My wife and daughter and I just went out just for the weekend. We were there for one day, and that was the only park we were going to do before we came back. And Rise of the Resistance was built into the virtual queue. We'll go back in time pre-COVID in 2020. The only way you could get into the virtual queue at that point in time is you had to have your entire party in the park, and the queue opened up at 9 a.m. when the park opened, or whenever the park opened, which I'm pretty sure was 9 a.m. back then because it was during February. So it was dark in the morning. And we got there bright and early. I can tell you it was the largest crowd I've ever seen at Hollywood Studios before going in. There were thousands of people standing out there on the concrete by the ticket counters and waiting to get in through the turnstiles, and just tons of people. And again, pre-COVID, we were jam-packed in there like sardines. The park was going to open, I believe it was 9 a.m. It was about 8:40 or so. They decided to open up the turnstiles. We were close to the front. We got right in. We decided to rope drop Slinky Dog Dash, the roller coaster out in Toy Story Land. So we ran back there as quickly as we could. And the queuing for the Slinky Dog roller coaster, they had a rope in front of it, so you couldn't even walk through the queue. You were out there in the main walkway over by Woody and Jesse, if you know where those are. And we were standing there waiting for 9 a.m. And of course, everybody's standing in line, and I'm actually going to hold up. Everyone had their phone in hand, waiting to go at 8:55, and everyone was clicking into their phone, trying to make sure that they were ready to get that virtual queue loaded. And there's a lady in front of us that we were talking to, and come to find out, her entire party was still sleeping at the hotel. Nobody had come into the park with her. And so we were talking to her and explained, no, at that point in time with virtual queue, your entire party has to be in the park. They have to be through the turnstiles for you to get them into the virtual queue. Now, she could do it herself, but she could not get anyone else into the park. And so all of a sudden, she was totally distressed. She was calling them, trying to wake them up. And at this point, we're like 5 minutes before the top of the hour. So there was no way that was going to happen and that they were going to be able to get in there. And sure enough, 9 o'clock came around. We're all punching our thing for the virtual queue. Actually, even full disclosure for us, we didn't even get virtual queue at the 9 o'clock. They did, like today, they had a second one at 1, and we did get it at 1 o'clock, and we were able to ride Rise of the Resistance that afternoon. But she obviously was not able to get her virtual queue. She was in tears. We did see her later in the day. Actually, we were in line for Toy Story Midway Mania, and in the queuing in there, we saw her and her whole family. And this was in the afternoon. And we asked her, were you able to get everyone in and get them the virtual queue? And she said, no, we weren't. We missed it. So you can imagine, hey, that was the one thing that they wanted to do that day. They came to Hollywood Studios to see the Star Wars land and ride Rise of the Resistance, and they didn't accomplish that because they were not prepared. They didn't know what they needed to know to get that done. So that's why this is so important. We want you to have the right tools and the tips and the tricks so that you can get into the parks, you can get the reservations you need, you can ride the rides you want to ride, and you're not going to miss any of those key rides or those big elements. So what we want to do is we're going to dive into today's lesson, and we're going to talk through what each of the elements are within the app. So that way you're at least familiar with them. And then we're going to circle back and we're going to do a little bit deeper dive talking about the cost, talking about how it all works. And then we'll go the extra mile and we're going to go through park by park what is available. And I'll have some graphics for those that are on the video podcast where you can see all the rides that are available, and we'll talk through them real briefly and discuss whether or not it's worth it for each one of those parks. First, right out of the gates, let's say you're going to the My Disney Experience app. So whether you're going to Disney World or Disneyland, this is the same between the two different places. That app is going to have all the information for you on not just your dining reservations, but your park reservations and the whole 9 yards. In there, when you look at today's date or the date that you're going to the park, you're going to see the Genie, okay? And that's what they're calling it, is the Genie is going to organize your day. The Genie is going to tell you what park reservation you have and what time that park opens and closes. The Genie is going to have all of your restaurant reservations in there, so it's going to tell you what time you need to go do those. You can also customize your day and say, hey, Genie, these are the things I want to make sure I hit today. So these are the top, 2 rides, 3 rides I want to do. And you can load that in there. And then the Genie's going to give you some push notifications and give you some updates as you go through your day at the parks. And it's going to give you some of those little tips and tricks and say, now's a good time to do this. You can also do mobile ordering. So if you want to order something for the restaurants, you can do that through the app. It's going to give you all the show times. It's going to give you the wait times. Obviously, the app already has that all in there. And then you have the option of upgrading. So the next step is Genie Plus. Okay, so they are different. So everybody gets access to Genie. Anybody who uses their phone and their app can use the Genie. The Genie Plus is what you're paying for if you want to upgrade. Okay, now for me, I'm a seasoned park goer. We go to the parks a lot. We know the layouts of the park. We know exactly where we're going. We will use the app for wait times. We will use the app to find out the show time. So if we want to go see like Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, we'll pull that up to see what time that's at. We may queue that up within the Genie. We will do mobile ordering for food on the app. And actually, I recommend that to everybody. That's probably the best way to get the food. It's very quick. It's very easy. And they prefer that. They're actually creating within the restaurants more lanes for mobile ordering than just your traditional ordering. So the traditional ordering can get backed up real quick. Mobile orders, no one's over there. You put in your mobile order and then you say, I'm here. And then once you're there, they'll ping you and say, hey, go to window number 4 and your food's ready to go. So we encourage you to do all that. I will say outside of that, we don't use Genie. We don't say, here's the rides that we want to go ride. Here's the queuing we want to do. We don't do any of that. Once you then go to Genie Plus, again, that's where you can upgrade. You can buy that only the day of that you're going to the park, and that will give you access then to Lightning Lanes. Now, Lightning Lanes are the former Fast Pass lanes. So if you're familiar with Fast Pass from years past, that's what a Lightning Lane is. It's the exact same thing, but you get access to that on your mobile device. So gone are the days where you'd go scan your park ticket and get the little receipt thing that would pop out of the machine that would say, hey, you can go back to the Fast Pass at this ride at this time. Now it's all done on your phone. And what you're going to do is you're going to be able to go in and select your Lightning Lane ride that you want to do. And that it's going to give you time that you can come back. So that's what Genie Plus does. It gives you the exact same kind of fast pass system that was done before. It's just all done digitally now. If you've been to Disneyland in Anaheim, this is actually very close to what Max Pass was. We did Max Pass multiple times. Max Pass made our day go a lot quicker, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. And we'll go into depth between the two parks. And by two parks, Anaheim versus Orlando. Third, you have what are called individual Lightning Lanes. Okay. So, like a Fast Pass, you can skip the line, but these ones are ride by ride and they're individual. You don't, like with Genie Plus, where you just get them all. These individual ones you never get unless you buy them individually. So, they are not available in Genie Plus. They are only available as an individual Lightning Lane, and they are significantly more expensive than the Genie Plus service if you were to add it all up. For the most part, every park has two individual Lightning Lane rides. And again, we will go through all those in just a moment here when we go park by park. So an individual Lightning Lane is usually going to be on your newest rides. So for example, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot has an individual Lightning Lane. Rise of the Resistance has an individual Lightning Lane that you can pay just to go on that ride and to get yourself towards the front of the line. So that's how individual Lightning Lane works. Again, you don't need to pay for Genie Plus to have it. You could just be like us and just be a normal user and pay for an individual Lightning Lane and not have to pay for Genie Plus. So those two are exclusive of one another. And then the last one, fourth, is what's called virtual queue, which is my absolute favorite thing that Disney has done in the last few years. And virtual queue is free to everyone, okay? And there's a few reasons why I absolutely love virtual queue. Number one, like I just said, it's free. So this is eligible for anybody who's going to the park that day that has a reservation and is ready to go. That opens up at 7 a.m. You can join the virtual queue. It works just like a fast pass type thing where you'll actually, instead of getting a time, you're going to get a boarding group, and it's going to say maybe boarding group 62, and the day's going to start and it's going to say we're boarding groups 20 through 25. And then within about 10 minutes, it's going to go to 26, then 27. And it's just going to keep going throughout the day. So you can imagine I may be group 62. That may hit 11:30 to noon, right? I can tell you with Rise of the Resistance, our first time, we were grouped like 123, and we still made it before the end of the day. In fact, we made it like at 4 p.m. So we will get through a lot of boarding groups throughout the day on that virtual. But again, it's free. You're going to get that queue number. It's going to tell you what time to come back. Your phone's going to give you push notifications, everything. We will go into why I love this more in just a moment as we do a deep dive into each one of these. But there are a lot of these options out there. Let's talk about people's mentality with these options. So first, you've got a whole population of people, and actually I do fall into this group, that I think everything should be free. I think we've all paid a ton of money to go to the parks. I believe everything should be free, that you shouldn't have to pay for it. If they want to do Fast Pass, fine, do Fast Pass, but make it free for everyone. Don't charge people money. I see that as a profit game, and they're in it for profit, so I understand why they do it. But it definitely starts segregating out and separating out the crowds, the haves versus the haves not. So I believe everything should be free. The problem with making everything free or not having these lightning lanes is, and again, a personal story. We went to Disneyland during COVID, and this was like within about 9 months of COVID starting. And when we were at Disneyland, they were open for business as normal. They obviously wanted social distancing as much as they could. People were wearing masks. but they did not have any fast passes. They had actually shut everything down in preparation for a lightning lane. So we went to go ride the Haunted Mansion ride. And I kid you not, there are people out there walking around with signs saying that the line is over 90 minutes long. The cast members have that out there. The queue for the Haunted Mansion, if you're familiar with Disneyland, it's right next to New Orleans Square, and it's next to where the railroad is for that stop over there. The queue is wrapping around that open space between the Haunted Mansion and the railroad all the way over to Cafe Orleans, and it has completely blocked that entire area. The queue for Pirates is encroaching up from New Orleans Square towards that area, and there are thousands of people in this queue. That's the advantage of having fast passes in lightning lanes. And that's why Disney actually did them to begin with, was they didn't want everybody waiting in the queues, taking up all this space out in the parks. They wanted people go into the shops, go eat something, go do something, and you can come back and we'll hold your spot, which is why they did it. Because they didn't have it available, these queues were like miles long. You would just loop around and loop around forever. The advantage, though, is you'd move very quickly. The queues never stopped moving, so you would walk through them as quick as you could walk, essentially, and you'd get right up to the front. So that quote-unquote 90-minute queue for the Haunted Mansion actually only took us about 15 minutes to get into the elevator for that ride at Disneyland. We have another episode that's going to be coming up here in a couple weeks about the wait times and are they accurate at Disney and Universal and how to read them. So definitely tune into that because we do have a lot of opinions and we've got a lot of specific examples like I just shared about the Haunted Mansion where they said 90 minutes and we were in the elevator within 15. So a lot of good information is going to be in that episode as well. So you have people that believe it should be free. I like that. You keep moving. Nobody's cutting in line in front of you. And if you've ever been in a line where you get up close to where the lightning lane or the fast pass people are coming in and you see your side stop moving and you see hundreds of people go through the other side, it's frustrating. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be standing there waiting your turn, watching all those people going through. So that's why I don't like it. That's why I say they should just do away with the whole thing. But I get it. They don't have the space for the queues to do it for everyone. Now, some of the other people out there. So I talked about some people are in my camp that they think everything should be free. Some people think, like we were saying earlier, that it should be free, but you should have fast passes like it used to be. Okay. That's a fair strategy. It gives everybody the same opportunity. And that was the other thing on my strategies is I think it's fair if everybody is waiting the same amount of time. But the way it was before was fair. Everybody had equal access to it. You got to choose what you got fast passes for. You couldn't get your next one until you used your last one. And that's just how it worked out. You have some people, though, on the opposite end that believe everything should be able to be paid for. I should be able to skip every single line. I should be able to just walk onto every single ride if I'm willing to pay for it. And that's where this has gone to. And that's where definitely Universal is and some of the other parks. And of course, you can also pay thousands of dollars and get that private tour guide that's going to walk you through all the parks and walk you up to the front of all the lines. But there are people that believe that they should be able to go to the front if they're willing to pay. And that's totally their opinion. My problem with that is, I don't think that's super fair. I don't think everyone's got the money to do that. And then you could get into a situation where what if everybody's paying, which is what we'll talk about on Universal's Express Pass, because there are some disadvantages along those lines. You've got both sides of the coin there. So how does it all work? Let's deep dive onto these. So Genie Plus, like we said, is available on the days that you go to the park. You can register for it starting at midnight. So if you're going into the park tonight at midnight, I can go ahead and pay for Genie Plus, though I cannot reserve anything until 7 a.m. Really no reason to do that. No reason to pay for it until it's 7 a.m. And then 6:50, 6:55, I may pay for it and get my thumbs ready to start reserving my ride right out of the gates as quick as I can. I actually like that feature that it's only available day of. Because with previous fast passes, though they were free and that was fair, people on resort actually got a longer window to reserve them. And if you didn't stay on resort, which typically we don't, I have, but typically we don't, you don't get that same window. And so by the time your 60-day window came and you went to go reserve your fast passes, a lot of the best rides were already gone. So you were getting fast passes for things like Spaceship Earth at Epcot or Finding Nemo or something like that you're not going to really want to use it for. So that was one of the challenges. Now, what they did in the past then is they tiered them so that you couldn't hoard all the best rides. And that helped a little bit. But this is available only day of. I think that's super fair. I think then that puts people on resort, people that are off resort in the same bucket. And I think that's a huge advantage. So I like this new system on that end of it. It does cost between $15 to $20 per person per day. And that's going to be based on whether you're out in Anaheim or out in Orlando. I have seen some conflicting information on Orlando that it's $15 versus $16. I bet it's one of the two. And then in Anaheim, it's $20 per person per day. If you think a family of four, that's going to cost me in Orlando about $60 per day that we're going to the parks if I wanted to do it for each one. And again, that's an advantage. You don't have to do it each day. And we'll talk about that specifically here in a moment. Or out in Anaheim, that could be $80 a day. Trade-off, there's only two parks. So if you're only going to do 2 days, that may be worth it for you. So at 7 a.m., you can make your first reservation for a lightning lane. Once you have fulfilled it, so let's say your reservation says you can go at 8:30 or 9, whenever the park opens. Once you have fulfilled it and you've gone and scanned your Magic Band or you've gone to that ride, then you're immediately able, while you're in the queue, to reserve the next one. Okay. If your window, though, is more than 2 hours out, so let's say it's 7 a.m. and I want to make sure that I'm going to ride a really good ride over there that is not one of the individual lightning lanes, and it's only available at 1 p.m., I can reserve the 1 p.m., but I can't get my next Fast Pass until 2 hours have passed. So then at 9 a.m., I'd be able to reserve my next one. So here's an example. Let's say it's 7 a.m. and I'm going to Magic Kingdom and I want to reserve Peter Pan. And the reason is that's probably one of the more in-demand rides for Lightning Lane, and it's only available at 1 p.m. So I can reserve my Peter Pan for 1. At 9, because I reserved at 7, so now I have 2 hours. At 9, I'm able to reserve my next one, and I may reserve a Haunted Mansion. And that one may be available at 9:30. So I go at 9:30 to go ride Haunted Mansion. Now I can do my next one again. Because that 2 hours, don't worry about Peter Pan, that 2 hours has already passed. But as soon as I ride Haunted Mansion, I can do my next one. And now maybe at 9:30, I reserve Splash Mountain, but it's not till noon. Okay. Now at 11:30, I can reserve again. And so you can see now I could have 3 potential lightning lanes built up, but they're going to be in quick succession. So I'm going to have to really run through the parks. So that's just a real world example of how that could work. Getting the next one, whether you immediately use it or you wait the 2 hours before you can do the next one. You want to be mobile, and my recommendation is take the soonest one. If it's a ride you want to do, go take it, go cut to the front of the line, ride it, come off, or during the queue, reserve your next one. And even if you have to run halfway across the park, go do that next one and then reserve the next one. If you do that, I can tell you from Max Pass, that's how Max Pass used to work. I had days where I was getting 8 or 10 Max Passes reserved at Disneyland and was able to get onto the front of the line on each one. I've seen blogs of people out there that are doing these into the teens because they just keep going and going, especially at Magic Kingdom. What I also see, and I want to advise each and every one of you, don't ever do this. I will talk to people or see people that say, I got one lightning lane reservation for, again, let's say Peter Pan at 1, and I'm going to wait and I'll go do Peter Pan at 1. And after I do that, I'll get another one. And at 1:30, I'll reserve, and I can do Splash Mountain at 7 o'clock because that one's almost gone for the day. So we'll do that at 7, and they get 1 or 2 passes for the whole day. That's foolish. That you wasted money doing that. You could have waited in the queues and just ridden those rides without having to pay the money. You want to make sure that if you're going to use it, utilize it to the best of your ability and get a ton of them. Okay. So that's how Lightning Lane works. You reserve them. You're getting them one at a time, either until you ride it or until 2 hours have elapsed, and then you can get another one, but you can build them up throughout the day. Next, individual lightning lanes. These are your better rides. So over at Magic Kingdom, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, or over at Hollywood Studios, Rise of the Resistance, and we'll go through these again here in just a moment. Those are going to cost you individually per person per ride. You can only reserve a maximum of 2 per day, but you can only ride each ride once. And again, most of the parks have 2 rides. That's why they allow you to do 2, so you can do each of them. But you can only reserve once per ride. and the cost is $7 to $20 per person. And that's a huge range when you think about it. And it's all going to be based on time of the year and popularity of the ride. So, of course, today, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is the newest ride out in Orlando. That one's going to be in the $15 to $20 range every single day. Okay. And it'll be $15 in the slower months of the year. So going into September, it'll probably be $15 a day. At Christmas, it's going to be $20 a day. By the time Christmas comes around, we will have Tron Light Cycles out, which will probably take over the virtual queue, and that's where you'll virtual queue your ride. But they'll probably also have individual lightning lanes, so you could potentially ride it twice in one day. And with that, it'll be $20. Okay, right out of the gate. So $7 to $20 per person. So again, family of 4, that's going to be $28 to $80 for that, riding just that one ride. Okay. Now, again, these are the better rides. These are the busier ones. These are the ones with the longest queues, and they're the most in demand. We have friends that went out to California to Disneyland. With Disneyland, that's where the Star Wars land is, and obviously huge park now at Disneyland with Star Wars land. That thing's massive. And they said, we wanted to do the whole park. We wanted to get through everything. So they said, we paid for individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance. So we just didn't have to burn any time waiting for that. And we could ride it, and we knew we'd guarantee a ride on it. So worked for them. They had a smaller group that they were able to afford and pay for. Perfect example of when to use it. I have to do all of Disneyland in one day, and I want to ride that ride. It may be worth it. Okay. Keep in mind, I said this earlier, you do not need to buy Genie Plus to get individual lightning lanes. You can buy them completely individual. And that's what our friends did. They only bought that. Virtual queues. Again, this is my favorite thing. I told you earlier, it's free. It's fair. Everyone has opportunity to get it. There are 2 times of the day that you can get it. And this is what makes this thing even better. Okay. So number 1, you can get it at 7 a.m. That's what everyone's going for while you're at your hotel, while you're staying wherever you're staying. If there is a ride that has virtual queue, so if you're going to Epcot and you're going to want to ride Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, you want to be on your phone at 6:55. Make sure your group is all in your phone. You're ready to go. And at 7, you're going to hit that button to join the virtual queue, and you're going to get your boarding group. Okay. I did it multiple times this last summer while we were out there, and I never failed to get it for Guardians of the Galaxy at 7 a.m. Worked like a charm. The best part of virtual queue is if you do not get it at 7 a.m., do not sweat. And the reason is the virtual queue will open up a second time during the day. Again, you can only ride that ride once through the virtual queue. Okay. So if you got it at 7, you're done. You don't get to do it the next time. But at 1 o'clock, they reopen the virtual queue at 1 on the nose. So again, if you didn't get it at 7, you want to be there at 1. Now, at this point in time, they do all have to be in the park. So just like that story I told you of the lady that tried to do it with Rise of the Resistance and her family was still sleeping and they weren't there. If they are not in the park, they cannot be included in the virtual queue. So you want to make sure that you are there. Everybody's in the park when you do it. But the best part is 1 o'clock. The park hopper people have not been allowed to come into the park yet. So they cannot get these. Okay. That is the best part of this. If you miss it at 7, you have an equal chance at 1 o'clock, and you are not fighting any additional people trying to get that reservation. If you can imagine if they put it at 2:30 or 3, where other people could come into the park, you may be up against another 10,000 people trying to get it. In this case, that is never going to happen. Okay, so that's what's beautiful about virtual queues. Okay, currently there are only 2 virtual queues in all of Disney. In California, you have at California Adventure, the World of Color, their nighttime show. You have to get into the virtual queue to stand inside the roped areas by the water to see that show. I recommend it. I have seen that show a dozen times. It is a great show. It is very nostalgic, very emotional. It is an awesome display out there on the water. So if you're going to California Adventure, I recommend get up early, get into the virtual queue for that nighttime show. Even if you're thinking, I don't know that the kids are going to make it, it doesn't hurt you. Get into the virtual queue. They are going to have a ton of room in there, but you're going to need it so that you can see the show, because by the end of the day, they will be gone. And then we already talked about out in Orlando at Epcot, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. They say that's going to go away in fall of 22, which is this year. I anticipate that'll probably go away the same time that Tron comes out. They'll probably coincide with one another. So as soon as Tron starts, you're going to lose it on there. But they will open up the traditional queue for it. So we've talked about The virtual queue, we've talked about Genie Plus and the lightning lanes and how that all works. The individual lightning lanes, we've covered it all. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a graphic for those of you that are on the video, and we're going to talk through, is it worth it? Okay, so let's start out in Orlando. So in Orlando, at Magic Kingdom, your individual lightning lanes, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and Space Mountain. The Genie Plus attractions, there are too many to name. You can see them here on the screen. I'll just name some of them off. Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, Peter Pan, Thunder Mountain, Splash Mountain, Under the Sea with Little Mermaid. You have some meet and greets. In my honest opinion, Magic Kingdom is a huge park. I have done Magic Kingdom in a day. I have been able to get through every single ride that I wanted to do in one day without Genie Plus. You probably don't need it if you're a veteran Disney park goer. You know exactly where you're going to go and when you're going to go. However, if you have never been to Magic Kingdom, or maybe it's been a long time, I will say this is the only park in Orlando that is worth it. And it's because you get access to, and I'm counting them up, over 10 lightning lanes that for Genie Plus. So it is worth it for Genie Plus. For the individual lightning lanes, Space Mountain, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, it's hit or miss. That's up to you. And you can still buy those throughout the day. I usually will rope drop one of those two rides. Okay. And historically, we've tried to rope drop Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I've actually started to change my approach just a little bit, because if you rope drop your Fantasyland rides, Peter Pan, Winnie the Pooh, you go do Little Mermaid, you buy yourself a LeFou's brew, and you get out of Fantasyland and then head towards a different part of the park, you're able to ride pretty much every single ride by early mid-afternoon, and then you can come back and do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and wait 60 minutes. Okay. That's a touring plan that I like doing, and we'll talk about that on our episode where we talk about Magic Kingdom specifically. But is it worth it for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Space Mountain? Up to you. Space Mountain also moves pretty quick. And then in our single rider line episode, I give you a really good, I can do this all day tip of the day. And I'm going to repeat it. So our I can do this all day tip of the day is Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom. When you go into the queue, I wouldn't pay for it. And here's why. I go into the queue, you go all the way down through the hall, and then you come into the room where they're doing all the loading. You will move towards the left there where they're loading the left side of the ride. Right when you get in there and right when you move to the left, there is a door with a little push bar on it, and the load people are standing right behind it. That car holds 6 people and they never fill it up. So they are always asking for a group of 2, single riders, whatever. When you get to that little push bar door, say to the ride operator, hey, operator, me and my group, we're willing to be single riders. They will pop that door open. You will skip 8 switchbacks in the queue, and they will just single rider you onto that ride over the next few rides. That is my recommendation. You can skip Space Mountain. Don't pay for Space Mountain. That's my I can do this all day tip of the day for this episode. Epcot, you've got Ratatouille is an individual lightning lane. Frozen Ever After is an individual lightning lane. Your other normal ones are Test Track, Living with the Land, Soarin', Spaceship Earth, Finding Nemo ride, Journey into Imagination with Figment, and then the Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival. I wouldn't do it. Every single one of those rides that I listed on Lightning Lane are very fast queues. You are never going to be waiting for many of those rides much more than maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, with the exception of 2. Soarin' can be longer, okay? But if you only have one ride that you're waiting for, it may be worth it. And then Test Track has a single rider line. So again, we already had our single rider episode. You want to go back and listen to that? I would skip it because I can single rider Test Track. Looking at the top, individual lightning lanes. Frozen, that wait usually isn't too bad. We've been as quick as 5-10 minutes. We've been as long as 40. Is it worth it skipping the line for an individual lightning lane? Probably not, unless it's maybe $7 a person. Then maybe, and that's if I'm in a hurry. Ratatouille is a long line and half the queue's outside. That is one I would consider. If the line's going to be an hour or 2 all day long, then that is one that I may consider. But I would not do Genie Plus. Hollywood Studios, Rise of the Resistance, Mickey's Runaway Railroad are the 2 individual lightning lane ones. For those, we usually rope drop Rise of the Resistance. We usually get on in about 15-20 minutes. I wouldn't pay for that one. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's a cool ride. It's fun. Throughout the day, it's going to go up and down in time. You're going to see it at times 20 minutes long, so probably wouldn't pay for that. The Genie Plus ones are mostly shows because there's not a lot of rides there. So if you want the best seat in the show, then go ahead and do it. But if not, you can single rider Millennium Falcon. You can single rider Aerosmith. You'll wait then for Slinky Dog. You're going to wait for Toy Story Midway Mania, and you're going to wait for Hollywood Tower of Terror. That's about it. There's only 3 rides. So even if those are an hour, that's only 3 hours of your day. You still have a ton of your day. So I wouldn't pay for it there. Over at Animal Kingdom, your 2 that you can pay for are individual lightning lanes, are Flight of Passage, Avatar, which is my favorite ride. Even better than Rise of the Resistance, and you can see I'm a big Star Wars fan. Flight of Passage, I think, is the best ride at Disney World. And then Expedition Everest. We always rope drop Flight of Passage, and if you rope drop it, that line's going to be long, but it moves very quickly because Lightning Lane doesn't open yet. So that's a quick tip as well. Lightning lanes don't always open right at the beginning when rope drop happens. So Flight of Passage, rope drop it. Don't pay for it. You're going to be able to get in pretty quick, just like Rise of the Resistance. Expedition Everest, I want you to go listen to the Animal Kingdom episode on the touring plan, because if you stay ahead of the crowd at Animal Kingdom, you're not going to need to pay for Expedition Everest. Plus, it's got a single rider line. And then the other ones are the Safari, Dinosaur, the Rapids, some of the shows, stuff like that. I wouldn't pay for Genie Plus there either. So no, I do not think it's worth it. The only place that I think it could potentially be worth it is Magic Kingdom, due to the number of rides there and the fact that you can knock out so many of them through Genie Plus. There, I may do it. The only one that I would ever consider paying for on individual Lightning Lane is the Ratatouille at Epcot, just because the queuing is so long and so absolutely horrible. Let's hop over to California. We're going to go real quick, and I'm going to rattle these off because this episode's getting a little bit long on you. So at Disneyland Park, the only ride you can pay for there, individual Lightning Lane, Rise of Resistance, like our friends did. This is the only park in Disney that doesn't have 2 of them, so that's the only one. And then you've got your Lightning Lanes are Autopia, Thunder Mountain, Astro Blaster, Haunted Mansion, Indiana Jones, all those other ones, and you guys can see those on the screen. Is it worth it? Again, just like Magic Kingdom, if I haven't been there in a long time, if I don't know what I'm doing, it may be worth it. There's a lot of opportunity there. For me, I've been going for years. I'm going to rope drop Indiana Jones. I'm going to stick to that side of the park. I'm going to knock out Pirates, Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, and probably then at some point get back into Star Wars Land. By knocking out those rides, I don't mind waiting then an hour for Rise of Resistance if I need to. I can single rider Millennium Falcon, and I can get through the rest of the park pretty quick. Again, there's another strategy where you can go do Fantasyland, knock out Fantasyland, get your Peter Pan's, Pinocchio, and Mr. Toad's ride all done. Hit over to like Storybook Canals or go into Small World, hit the Matterhorn, single rider that. A lot of strategies there. Tune into that episode as well. So this one's a toss-up. California Adventure, there are 2, Radiator Springs Racers. No, do not pay for that. Single rider Radiator Springs Racers. It's just like Test Track. It's super fast. You're going to get on right away in single rider. Do not pay for it, okay? Web Slingers. This one's brand new. This one just left the virtual queue. It's up to you if you want to pay for that one. I can tell you that one also has a single rider line. They seat 4 per car, I believe 4 per car. I'm trying to remember. I've ridden it only twice. With that, I would go single rider it again. I wouldn't pay for it. Your other ones, Goofy Sky School, Grizzly River Run, Mission Breakout, Incredicoasters, Monsters, Inc., Soaring, Toy Story, Midway Mania. We like to rope drop the pier. We run down to the pier. We will go do Midway Mania. We'll do Incredicoaster. We'll come around, do Goofy's Flight School. We'll hit Little Mermaid as we come around. And then we'll go up and try to hit Soarin' and all those. That leaves us really with Cars Land and the Avengers Campus and Mission Breakout, which is also a fantastic ride. Honestly, it's so cool. So I would tell you it's probably not worth doing it there either. At the end of the day, if you think you're debating it, do I pay for it or do I not? Go back, listen to our single rider episode. You want to learn about these single rider lines and do those. That will make your day quicker than even the Lightning Lane can do it, and that's free. You just have to be willing to break up your group if possible. Now, if your kids are young, younger than 10, maybe worth doing Lightning Lanes and the Genie Plus versus doing single rider, because Disney will cut you off at 7 years and younger, and you may not want your kids sitting with strangers. But if they're over 10, go do single rider. You're going to save yourself a ton of time and a ton of money. Last thing here. If you guys don't remember from our previous episodes, we actually have a condo down in Orlando that we rent out through Vrbo and Airbnb. I'm going to put the link in the description of this episode. It's a 3-bedroom condo. It's within miles of the parks in Orlando, and we love it. It's our favorite place to go, and you can stay where your podcaster stays. Have a great magical day, magical week. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.